So, hi everyone, I am Cristina, a backend developer in mobility service here at Seat Code. And today I'm having this lunch and learn together with David.
Hello, thank you, Cristina. I'm David. I'm backend engineer in Seat Code in the mobility business unit, and I'm in the DeLorean team that it's taking care of the vehicle part of mobility. Cristina, you are muted.
Sorry, I was muted. So for this lunch and learn, we thought to change a bit the format from the previous session. This is actually the third session we do about more or less the same topic. The first two sessions were more like workshop or, like more lesson oriented or something like that, where we explained basically something, we did some live coding, and that was all. But now that we are so many new people and we better interact with each other, and we have some people from new business units, we thought about having a new format that will allow us to participate a bit more during session, and hopefully we will get to know each other a bit more while we share knowledge about the topic that we're going to talk about today. So if you go to the chat icon in Zoom, you will see a link to RetroTool. If I hope all of you can go there without problems. Just give a thumbs up if you can, or a voice confirmation. It's okay also.
Yes, I can.
Okay. And also
it works. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. Okay, I will share my screen also. Okay, so let me explain a bit how we're going to organize this session. So we prepared 3 columns in a Kanban style. So here in the first column to discuss, we will propose topics that we would like to discuss about how to build software guided by tests with TDD, or it can be like, okay, I have no idea, I would like to have an overview and introduction, or things more specific as already David added, like what is how to decouple the test code from production code. Okay. We will propose tickets. You will write here your thing and then pull it here like this. After that, we will vote. The most voted topics, we will move them to discuss. We will assign like a few, a time box. We will time box that discussion depending on the number of topics we have. And also, we have 2 areas here. One where we share useful info with you from the previous workshops that we had, and this column is in order to share your thoughts at the end of this session. You have here some questions. You can share things about what did you learn, how do you feel, what insights did you gain, and also if during the discussion you have any question, you have this column over here, the questions, where you can type your question and pull it. If we can answer it at this moment in 1 hour, it's okay. If not, we will use that for our next lunch and learn. Okay, as a base for the next learn. Okay, any doubt so far?
Well, I would like to add a comment in the first column. Any of you can add not only questions. If you know something that you about TDD or something related to TDD that you want to share with people here in the meeting, you can create a post-it and pull it, and feel free to propose topics that you have knowledge about it.
Okay. So let's start. Let's create some. Each of us. Let's create some questions here, and let's start sharing them in the to discuss column. We will assign like I don't know, 1 minute for that. So I am adding some topics here. You can start adding topics too if you wish. Okay. Okay, new cards. Let's wait a bit. Okay, anyone is still writing or wants to share a new card? No? Okay. Then we can vote these topics.
Every person has 2 votes, and you can vote twice the same card, or you can vote one card and another card.
Okay, I guess everyone more or less vote. Is someone still voting? No. Okay, then we can start. Let me sort. I think I can sort here. Sort by points. Woohoo! Okay, so these are the most voted topics. So, for example, the most voted topics was how to construct complex test data, then how to decouple test code from production code, why to use mocks, also an introduction to TDD, how many devs follow TDD, and tell don't ask. Okay, so even this year is not the most voted, I think it's important to give a kind of introduction, so everyone is more or less on the same page. So let's start with this one for the people that maybe don't know much about TDD. So in this section over here, we shared with you some links to useful information that we have collected and for the previous workshops that we prepared. So for this one about the introduction to TDD, I will use one of these. For example, this one. Okay. So as well, in case you don't know, TDD is or why we want to do TDD, right? While we test or while we develop code. In my opinion, the main reason why we want to do TDD is because we want to shorten the feedback loop. We want to know feedback or get feedback as soon as possible about whether we're going good or not. So in the previous software development methodologies, the feedback loop was super long. It took months to plan everything, then weeks, in order to create the acceptance test and so on. So the feedback loop was super long. With TDD, within minutes, we have unit tests where we can get immediate feedback about whether we're going in the right direction or not. So that's one of the main advantages or main reasons why to use TDD. Okay, so how TDD works in general. So there are 3 rules of TDD. The first one is that we must write first the production code, the test code, and have a failing test, and then we write the production code. Okay. The next one is that we only need to write the sufficient production code that makes the test pass, and then about this one. Yeah, I think it's more or less the same. I already summarized a bit these 3 options. So we write the test first, then we make it pass with only sufficient production code to make it pass. And in the third phase, we refactor and we repeat this cycle over and over while we code. Okay. In this section, we also shared with you some videos about this technique. I really recommend to watch them if you want to get better on this technique and practice maybe through katas. Okay. Okay. Also, let's vote if this was enough introduction, or and we want to continue to the next topic, or if we want to keep going on this introduction. Okay, maybe you can go do a thumbs up with your camera, or you can write it in the chat section. Yeah, I don't see it. David, can you help me, because I don't see the chat?
Yeah,
David?
I think, hello. I think nobody is writing, I think.
Okay.
Maybe we can suppose that that the people is not interested in this topic, and we can go to the next one.
Okay.
Sorry, Cristina, I was talking in mute. No. I would ask a question, because we used to do TDD on our first projects in Recall 2, and we are, I mean, at least I was always in doubt what's the less code I can create for starting the TDD. I never knew the limit. For example, should I create some small logic inside, or just the name of the method, or so on? But now it's pretty clear.
Okay. So in my opinion, if you are maybe practicing this technique, a good start is to follow the transformation priority premises that say that, okay, in production, imagine that you have a method that needs to add numbers, right? So the first step would be to just write then the output, the output that you expect, and then keep thinking of new tests that will force you to change your implementation.
All right.
You know, but that's like the most extreme case when you are practicing. Then the reality, in our day-to-day is that okay, your first test can be or like something super simple, the happy path. Try to think about what you expect to check in your test, your assertions. Try to make that clear, the case that you want to check, and then try to write the minimal code that you need in order to make that test pass, and keep growing your system through examples.
Perfect.
I don't know if that was
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
okay. Yeah, we have some examples. I can try to share with you later these repos in GitHub, and also some blog posts where you have some examples also. Okay. Okay, so I guess we can go to the next topic.
Cristina,
Maybe.
can I
Yes.
ask a quick question?
Yes, sir.
What's outside in and inside out? I'm struggling with the terminology at the moment.
Yes, thanks for your question, Gary. Okay, so there are two TDD schools, let's say, that are related to the style of the way we write our tests. Okay, so classicist TDD stands out for basically using lots of assertions. If you are maybe a Java developer, you would use lots of maybe you would use things like, okay, assert that this is true, and so on. Okay? And you also would start coding from the domain to the outside of the system, probably.
Yep.
David, do you want to help me with this?
Yes, in Inside Out, I would say that you start developing, for example, if in your system you in object-oriented programming you have 3 classes or 4 classes, that one object calls the other, and this second calls the third one, the third one calls the fourth one. In Inside Out, usually you start developing the last one. So you first develop the fourth one, and then using TDD, the TDD cycle, red green refactor, and once you have finished to this piece, then you can use this piece to develop the third one, no? Because the fourth one it's already implemented. So when you are developing the third one that interacts with the already implemented piece, you don't need to mock it or create stubs, because the fourth one is already implemented.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then Cristina, if you want, you can explain the outside in TDD.
David, may I say one thing about that?
Yes, of course.
At least from all the TDD that I've been working on in my experience, I mean, TDD by default any external dependency should be mocked, even though it's created or it's not. Otherwise, the tests will take much longer. So that's why in TDD, every class is tested in an isolated way.
Yes.
I mean, if not, they are integration tests, which are also valuable, but they are another layer in the pyramid test.
Well, you can say something, Cristina?
Yeah, so about what you mentioned, Jaume, thanks for your intervention, by the way. I think there are many ways of like testing, isolating the class or the object that you want to test, and techniques in order to isolate that. So that's why we use test doubles. Most of us are used to use mocks, but it's not the only test double that we can use actually. So you could have a fake implementation of this collaborator, of this class that you want to of the object that is not the test subject, but you need that. But you can use different test doubles, like a fake implementation, or yeah, and stuff is a bit different. But I don't know if that was a bit clear.
Yeah, but none of those test doubles is the real implementation. I mean, they differ if you have to, I don't know, like for example, you have a library that connects to an external payment gateway, like Adyen, for instance. You would have a stub that that is another library that in the test environment you bind the dependency to the stub one and not the real one, but the interface is the same one. So at the end of the day, you will have results because you have faked the what it's returned from the library. So, you know,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but my thing was that you never use in TDD just in integration tests, or other people call them like functional testing, even like solidarity testing. There's a lot of namings in the testing world. It's a little crazy,
Yeah.
but that you never really call an external dependency and expect that external class to process any logic.
Yes, exactly. That's one of the key points of TDD. You have a unit that you want to test, a unit of behavior, an object or a unit of behavior, and you need to use some techniques in order to isolate that unit of behavior from the rest of the world. And in order to do that, you can use lots of techniques and use test doubles, basically. That is like the general idea.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
okay, so going back to the first question, the difference between classes in TDD and outside in TDD. Okay, so in outside in TDD, we don't start driving or building the system from the domain, from the core to the outside. We do it the opposite way, okay? From the limits of the system, from the interaction, how to say it? I have an image here. We start coding from the limits of the system, okay? If we have, let's say, a controller, because I'm a backend, okay? If we have a controller here, we would start our test more or less here, okay? And that would end in the most inner layer, okay? Generally the persistent layer. And we start building, I will try to give an example later. We start building a guiding test that generally the name for that is acceptance test or feature. There's something that tell us, okay, your feature now is ready. Everything is okay. And we will start with that acceptance test in red. And we will go following the red-green refactor cycle through every inner layer, writing unit tests. Okay, that's the main difference between outside in. Also, there's one important difference, and is that in outside in TDD, generally you know in advance the design that you want to create, okay, because you need to know what is the next step, okay? And in Classes TDD, you design during, mostly during the refactor phase, because probably you did not super nice implementation, and during the refactor phase you start extracting classes and methods and building the design. That's also an important difference. Okay. Okay. Any questions or comments about the topic? Like to keep continue. Would you like to keep discussing this topic and see an example, or maybe we can go? Maybe we can go to the next topic. We have also code examples if you want. Okay. I guess we can go to the next topic then. Constructing complex test data. Okay. David, do you want to share an example of what we've been talking about so far, and also how to construct complex test data?
Yes. Yes.
I will stop sharing. Maybe we can show a container test so they can see what we start with in outside in TDD, and then we can show them the
Okay.
test data.
I need to share my screen. No. Share.
Okay, so for this, we will use like real example of what we are actually building in the mobility business unit. So you will see actually how we apply all these things in a real project.
Cristina, can you check if I have permissions to share my screen?
Now you can. Sorry. And of course, feel free to ask at any point if there's something that you would like to go deeper or anything.
Can you give me permissions, Cristina?
I already did.
Okay. So I don't know why it's the first time this happens to me in Zoom, but I don't.
Okay.
I can share my screen.
Okay, I will do it then.
Demo effect, no?
Yes. Okay. Okay. Let me close. Okay. So this is actually our project. 1 second. I don't know why I cannot. Zoom is a little bit slow when I share my screen. Let me stop sharing for a second. Okay. Okay. Let me share my screen again. Okay. So just to give an example about what we were talking about before, about the acceptance test and so on, I want to show you an example of what we do. So for example, the first test that we write is generally this one. Is a test that goes through the most external layer in the backend. Since we are the backend, that means that we test like, okay, when we receive this HTTP request, then I want to make sure that everything is okay, right? So this is, in our case, we do that if you are, for example, a front end or a mobile developer. You need to think about what is the most external layer of your system, and then to that point until the most external internal layers. And this test is a black box test where you only check the inputs, okay, that all the inputs are the good ones, okay, and the outputs, okay. In our case, the output is, okay, I want to make sure that the contract is perfect, okay, with the values that I expect. Okay, it's a black box text inputs and outputs. And I will this example in order to show you how to construct complex test data. So as you see, especially when you create lots of tests, we could have a situation where it's difficult to read the test because the test data that you need to prepare, okay, and sometimes that test data like is super long and the test gets difficult to read. So there is a technique called it's a pattern actually, of the object mother, and we use that in order to reuse a little bit the test data that we want to set up during our test. So for example, this would be the object map for a booking. Okay, so we see here the fields of a booking. Okay, a booking has an ID, a user ID, a vehicle ID, a reference ID, the date where it was created, a reservation, and a trip. Okay, other objects. Since we use Kotlin here, we take some advantages of the language, and for example, Kotlin allows us to initialize parameters here and have them as default values. In Java, for example, you would need to overload the method and so on. And for example, also in other languages, you probably would use builders. You would follow the builder pattern in order to create the other object mothers. But here, since Kotlin is super flexible, we use these things. For example, we have a booking mother. We say that if I want to get an object that I'm sure that has the right set of data, right? When for when the booking is created, that means that has like a date of creation. I need to instantiate a booking with all this data, and I basically set up all the necessary fields that make me know that the booking was created. In our cases, okay, it has a created on date, a reservation with everything with the right state, and a trip in the right state. Okay. For example, then we have functions for, okay, when the booking expires, okay, then the reservation needs to be expired, okay, and we set the right values for when the reservation is expired. And you see here examples of how we build all these things. Have you ever used something similar, or?
Yeah, I did.
Yes.
Okay. Jaume, for example, how did you approach this topic? I think Jaume is not here.
Yeah, me?
Yes.
Cristina? Yes,
Yes.
I'm here. But the thing is that I'm doing, we have a new guy in our team today, and
okay.
I'm like making him the onboarding, talking to him Slack, and inviting him to a lot of tools. So I'm half here. Sorry about that.
Okay. No, it's okay then. Okay, so this is an example of how to construct complex test data that you can reuse in your tests over and over. So for example, if you search for usages of this booking mother, we see, okay, in how many tests, for example, booking activator. Okay, so we use it in many places, and we repeatedly invoke these methods and get the right setup for our tests. Okay. Okay, would you like to continue discussing about this topic, or maybe we go on to the next topic? Maybe a thumbs up or a yes or no vocally. It's okay.
No. We may continue next topic.
Okay.
Yeah, for me the same.
Okay. So the next topic was why to use mocks. I think I added this.
Cristina.
Yes. Sorry.
The couple test code.
No, it is one. Yes.
Okay. So this is the current one, no?
Yes, the couple.
Okay. Okay. I propose this topic. And well, this topic it's about only to share some two kind of issues that we usually do during our test, and it's just that share this and how to, and if you want to share some thoughts about it, feel free. I'm going to share my screen.
Let's try again. Okay.
Yeah, I think you can see my screen now.
Yes.
Okay. For example, one very tiny detail that sometimes we omit and we don't take care is in the assertions on the assertions and on the test. For example, here in this test we see one assertion and another two that are comment out. Imagine that we use this one, so we and we use this one, no? This assertion is the JUnit, and the implementation of this assertion use the current equality comparison of the class that you are comparing. So in Java and in Kotlin, there are two kind of comparison, of equality comparisons by reference or by field, no? So what do this assertion is to relay in the equality comparison of the production class. So right now in Kotlin, the motorcycle match is a data class. So when a class is a data class in Kotlin, the quality is field by field. But if you remove the data modifier of the class, then the equality comparison is by reference. It checks that the object is the same object in memory. So we should take care about this issue because well, how we can solve this issue? It's very simple. When we do an assertion, we have to use an assertion that doesn't rely on the equality comparison of the production class. We have to use an assertion library that checks field by field between objects, and regardless if the class is a data class or it's a class, or is the quality comparison it's of one kind or another kind. So in this case, I suggest to, for example, in this case, to use the assertj assertion that don't use the equality comparison of the class, but use its own comparison using reflection. So this test exactly what you want to test, the values of each field between the two objects. This is one example. About how to decouple the test code from production code. Another example. I don't know if you want to add something about this concrete issue.
From my side, I was thinking that maybe we could show, because I sometimes have problems testing things with dates, and that is, I don't know if that's related to production code actually, maybe yes, but how to reduce that pain, about testing with data that can actually change randomly, or
I'm not sure if I'm taking your point.
Okay. Okay, because I'm not sure if it's actually related to decouple our tests from production code, but I have an example. If you look, for example, function with double shift mock now or something like that.
Mock
now UTC. And control shift and like search for a method.
Let me check here.
Maybe it's an example of that function in the abstract booking container test.
Okay. Thank you, Isa.
Nothing.
Thank you. Booking.
Abstract booking container test.
Okay.
It's the mock zone daytime.
Exactly. Thank you, Isa. This is exactly what I was looking for. So sometimes when we are writing tests, it's difficult. We want to control in a test everything that must happen there. So we prepare, the test data. We isolate, the behavior that we want to code, and then we define the assertion, or the expectation that we need. But sometimes there are things that we cannot actually control very well, like that and that make that our test is not reproducible over and over and over again. And one example of that is time. Time passes, and every millisecond is different to the previous one. So it's difficult to test that because in our production code, we cannot stop that, but in our tests, we need to control that behavior. So one way to that's why I say decouple or protect us from our own code implementation is, for example, to mock. In this case, we are using mocks. There are other techniques, but to mock that class that will return us the current time. So that way, in this case, we are creating a stub. So this piece of code from line 75 to 78 says, okay, every time this class Sunday time receives a call from give me the time now in UTC, then return always return the same value, which is this variable date time. Okay, we are making this mocking flexible because we are setting, okay, from the outside in the input the exactly date time that we want in our test. So I think this is an interesting example. Other ways to do more or less the same, to actually abstract us a little bit from things that we cannot control in production code, is to create wrappers. For example, some people create a clock or a, I don't know, a system clock class and inject that as a collaborator through the constructor using dependency injection, inject that in the object that they are testing. Some people do that. Also, actually using dependent injection when we design our system is a way to decouple the tests from the production code. And maybe you can show an example of that, David, because that allows us to control exactly the output of those collaborators that we need in our test.
You say an example of mocking the sounded time or something related, or
an example,
or any kind of collaborator.
Yes, an example of how we use collaborators and okay, how we use them in order to decouple their implementation in the test.
For example, this is a test of the create motorcycle command handler. In this test, for example, this is encapsulated in a private method, but this command handler interacts with a domain service that is a motorcycle creator. And
can you give some, because
yeah, do you see?
Thank you.
Okay. So in this test, what we do is to stop the response of the motorcycle creator because we want that this test be unit. So this test be isolated from other objects. So this is an example.
Can you show the test also? Because this is only the step.
Okay. This is the call to the stop. This is the action, no? The test and the assertion.
Can you show the action?
Yeah.
Okay. So here, actually, we want to make sure that the command handler is doing its job. So this is the action that we want to execute. but since the command handler collaborates, right, uses other inner classes, in this case, a domain service, in order to do his job, we need to control the response of that domain service, and that's what David showed in this tab. If you go back
here.
Yeah. So this is the call to the domain service. And every time we call to this domain service, we return in line 76 the same response. And this is a way in order to also decouple the tests from the production code. And this is done, we can do this because in the command handler, this domain service is injected through the constructor using dependency injection. If, for example, we would be instantiating in the command handler class this domain service, we wouldn't be able to actually create a stub for it and create a mock for the domain service.
You mean, Cristina, that instead of injecting this collaborator here,
yeah, exactly,
create a new instance of multi-scale creator?
Exactly.
Right, in this line.
Exactly.
If we would do that, the problem we have is that it's not possible to isolate this object from the motorcycle creator. Yeah. So yeah, we can test this class separately from the other one.
Yes.
Yeah, I have another example of the coupling test code from production code, but I don't know. It's 2 o'clock. What do you think?
I think it's already 2 o'clock. Maybe we should start like closing a little bit the session. Can you go back to Retro Tool, please?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. I can share my screen. Okay, so this is Retro Tool. These are the topics that we discussed a little bit today here. Anyone has doubts about what we mentioned or wants to share something? Okay. If not, it would be super nice if you could use this column here, share your thoughts, and use these post-its in order to like share an insight that you got or something that you learned, or maybe ask here in this questions section something that you would like to keep like learning or you are interested in and can help us to for as a base in order to prepare the next Lunch and Learn. So if you could maybe share your thoughts or a question, it would be super nice. And after that, we will end today's Lunch and Learn. Okay. Okay. Is anyone still writing?
Yes, me, sorry.
Okay, it's fine, Isa. Okay. So thanks, Isa and Marcelo, for actually posting thoughts and questions. Marcelo, I think your question is super difficult to answer, and I think it's not that there is not a right amount of production code that should be like driven to TDD. It's a, in my opinion, and this is my personal opinion, it's a personal preference. In my case, and also David's, for example, we really like to do TDD because this helps us to think a little bit before what we are planning, a little bit the path that we're going to follow. Okay, and in my case, it makes me feel more secure of the steps that I'm doing while I'm developing a feature, because I get immediate feedback because I run my tests all the time. So I like to code or to add tests, let's say. Also because probably since I follow mostly outside in TDD, at the start of the feature, I have nothing, no production code, and then I start adding tests for every step until I grow the feature. And there's people that think that those are like too many tests, that you could test exactly the same with less things. But and that's also right. It depends on how much granularity you want in your tests. For example, if you are super okay with black box tests that where you only know the inputs and the outputs of a very big chunk of functionality, then okay, you can do it. I personally don't like that because I prefer to have the or to have like to be more more I don't know how to say it, to be more I don't know, I prefer to be more precise about where something can fail, or if I'm debugging or checking a bug, I want to know where it is. So it helps me to have like lots of small tests because I can locate better where the problem is. I don't know if that was clear. I think it's not.
And answering the question of Marcelo, I would say that.
Sorry, David. Actually, what I meant with this card is now I have a different approach. Now I've learned how can I proceed to make the less code for starting TDD. Now I have an idea after the explanation.
Okay.
So it wasn't actually a question, but just a thought.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. So I will share with you later these some exercises that help you also to get better in like get the feeling of how much production code you need to start adding step, because I think that can be like helpful. We'll send through Slack later, Marcelo. And well, thanks, Isa, for your for your comments. And we will prepare more examples of how to decouple production code from tests for the next Lunch and Learn, hopefully.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so anyone wants to share something else or wants to add something? Okay, otherwise, thanks for attending to this Lunch and Learn. It's difficult to prepare a Lunch and Learn in just 1 hour of such a complex topic with so many new people. That's what we prefer to have this lean coffee format where you could actually post questions and we could give answers. I hope this is like the base for a continued conversation where we can keep discussing about how to write better code and how to test it in the most, I don't know, in the best way, basically. So thanks for attending, and see you next time.